The first time I saw the room number, I thought it was just another hotel quirk. Room 217, it sounded so ordinary, so unremarkable. But when I asked the front desk clerk for the key, her entire demeanor shifted. Her friendly smile vanished, replaced by a look of ice-cold dread. She leaned in close, her voice a barely audible whisper, a warning that sent a shiver down my spine. "Be careful," she breathed, her words hanging in the air like a ghost. "No one stays there past midnight." I let out a nervous laugh, trying to brush it off as some local legend, a silly story to spook tourists. I was just here on a business trip, after all. A late night of work, a few hours of sleep, and I'd be gone. What could possibly go wrong? The moment I stepped into room 217, a heavy, oppressive silence fell over me. The air was thick and stale, carrying the musty scent of old carpets and something else, something I couldn't quite place. It smelled like decay, like forgotten things left to rot in the dark. I dropped my bag on the floor and fumbled for the light switch. The room was small, depressingly so. The wallpaper was peeling at the corners, revealing dark, water-stained patches underneath. The single bed was neatly made, but the sheets looked thin and worn. An old, bulky television sat on a cheap wooden dresser, its screen dark and dusty. I tried to shake off the unsettling feeling, telling myself I was just tired from the long drive. I unpacked my laptop, planning to get some work done before turning in. To break the suffocating silence, I turned on the TV, hoping for some mindless background noise. The screen flickered to life with a burst of static, a loud, crackling hiss that filled the room. I fiddled with the controls, but every channel was the same, just a blizzard of black and white fuzz. Annoyed, I was about to turn it off when I noticed something strange. The static wasn't random. Patterns were forming, swirling and coalescing into shapes. Then, letters began to crawl across the screen, slow and deliberate, formed from the dancing static itself. The message was clear. 2 words that made the blood freeze in my veins. "Don't sleep." I stumbled back, my heart pounding against my ribs. I rubbed my eyes, convinced I was hallucinating. This had to be a prank, a sick, twisted joke. Maybe the hotel staff did this to all the guests in this room. I turned away from the TV, my back to the bed, trying to rationalize what I'd just seen. That's when I felt it. A sudden, icy draft whispering across the back of my neck, raising goosebumps on my arms. The room's single window was closed and locked. The air conditioner was off. There was no source for the draft. Slowly, almost against my will, I turned back around to face the room. The bed was still there. The rumpled suitcase was still on the floor. Everything was exactly as I'd left it. But the feeling of being watched was overwhelming. I wasn't alone. I knew it with a certainty that was absolute and terrifying. My eyes darted around the room, searching the shadows. Then a sound. A low, agonizing creak that seemed to echo in the dead silence. It came from the closet. The wooden door, which I was sure had been closed, was now slightly ajar, a sliver of profound darkness visible within. I told myself it was the old building settling, it was the wind. It was anything but what I feared it was. But then I heard her voice. It wasn't a voice that came through my ears. It was a whisper that bloomed directly inside my mind, cold and intimate. I'd been waiting, a scream caught in my throat. I spun around, my back hitting the wall with a thud, and that's when I felt it. The light, feather-like touch of cold fingers brushing against my arm. I flinched away, my skin crawling, but there was nothing there. I looked at my arm, expecting to see a mark, a print, something. There was only my own pale skin. My gaze lifted to the vanity mirror hanging above the dresser. For a split second, I saw my own reflection, wide-eyed and terrified. But then, it shimmered, like a heat haze on a summer road. My face began to distort, to melt away. In its place, another face stared back at me. It was a woman. Her skin was ashen, stretched tight over her skull. Her eyes were dark, hollow pits of despair. Her hair was long and matted, plastered to her gaunt cheeks. Her mouth was open, moving soundlessly, a silent, eternal scream etched onto her features. She was trying to tell me something, her ghostly form trapped behind the glass, screaming without a sound. That was it. I had to get out. Panic seized me, sharp and blinding. I scrambled for the door, my hands fumbling with the lock. I twisted the deadbolt, pulled the handle. It wouldn't budge. It was locked. Jammed. I threw my shoulder against it, again and again, but it was like hitting solid rock, trapped. I was trapped. My phone, I had to call for help. I ripped my jacket off the chair, my hands shaking so badly I could barely get my phone out of the pocket. The screen was black, dead. The battery had been at 80% just minutes ago. Impossible, I screamed then. A raw, primal sound of pure terror. But the sound was swallowed by the room. It didn't echo. It didn't even seem to travel beyond the walls. There was only silence and then the whispers. They started again, not just in my head this time, but from every corner of the room. They swirled around me, a chorus of ghostly voices, growing louder, more insistent. "You can't leave," they hissed. "You're ours now. Stay with us. Forever." The cold intensified, seeping into my bones. The shadows in the room seemed to deepen, to writhe and reach for me. The face in the mirror was still screaming, her silent agony a horrifying counterpoint to the chorus of whispers that now filled my ears, my head, my very soul. I collapsed to the floor, curling into a ball, pressing my hands over my ears, but it was no use. The voices were inside me now. I was becoming one of them. The next morning, a housekeeper used her master key to enter room 217. She found the room empty. The bed was unmade, the sheets twisted and thrown to the floor as if from a violent struggle. The television was still on, its screen flickering with silent, meaningless static. On the dresser, next to the lifeless television, sat the room's keycard. But the guest who had checked in the night before was gone. He had never checked out. Downstairs, at the front desk, a new family was checking in. The father pointed to the board, a hopeful look on his face. "Do you have anything on the second floor, maybe room 217? The clerk smiled, a faint, knowing smile that didn't quite reach her cold, empty eyes. She reached for the key. "Of course," she said, her voice a soft, chilling whisper. "But be careful. No one stays there past midnight." Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more chills. Let me know in the comments what you think happened to the guest in room 217.